Shaughnessy here.
Member Beelan here.
Whenever you go. Member Foley here.
Great.
Got Wilson.
The first item on the agenda is the August 6, 2025 planning board meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve? Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The first item on the agenda is a continued public hearing, 1630 Hancock Street. And we did receive a request from Attorney Mahoney. I don't know if you'd like to read it into the record first.
Sure,
Sure.
please.
Dear Madam Chairwoman, as you know, this office represents 1630 Hancock LLC on the above certificate of consistency application currently pending before this board. On behalf of our client, we are hereby requesting that this case be continued to the October 15th, 2025 planning board meeting. Thank you for your time and consideration in this matter.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So we still have some issues we're working through with the peer review in the planning department, so we'd like to go on to the next meeting.
Is there a motion to continue?
Make a motion to continue.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, just
Yes,
real quick,
and that's-
that would be to October 15th.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep. And then do you have a motion to take, it out of order? I can just unilaterally, decide that 42 Beale Street public hearing, planning board case number 2025-13 will be next. This public hearing shall be conducted to review the application of MCRT Investments LLC, 84 State Street, Suite 920, Boston, Mass. 02190 for site plan review under Quincy zoning ordinance, Title 17, Section 9.5.1 site plan review and a special permit under Section 5.1.17 parking waiver. The applicant proposes the removal of the one-story commercial storefront building, 16 Old Colony Avenue, and in its place, the construction of a new 8-story, 321-unit multifamily residential building inclusive of 3 levels of structured parking for 322 vehicles. The proposal will also include structured exterior and amenity space for the residents, along with professionally designed drainage controls and landscaping. The property contains 86,752 square feet of land and is located within a portion of 42 Beale Street, a portion of Pitts Avenue, and 16 Old Colony Avenue. The subject property is located within a Business C zoning district and shown on assessor's maps 5092, 38B9, 5091, 10, 121, and 5091, 28, 128. On this one, September 15th, we received a request to continue from Attorney Fleming. Please accept this letter as a request to continue the public hearing for the above captioned matter until the planning board's November 19th agenda. Since the filing of this application, my client has attended a neighborhood meeting hosted by Councilor Daniel Minton, during which the neighbors expressed concerns about the proposal. In light of these concerns, my client intends to review the proposal and discuss proposed revisions with the planning department. If you have any questions regarding this matter, please feel free to contact me at any time. Thank you for your assistance.
Thank you.
So is there a motion to continue to November 19th?
I'll make that motion to continue to November 19th.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, November 19th. Yeah. The next item on the agenda is a continued public hearing for 12 to 18 Chestnut Street, planning board case number 2025 COC 02.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Attorney David Mahoney, I represent Quincy Mutual. This is a continued public hearing back in front of you, as you mentioned. There was some comments from the peer review that came in that our engineer responded to in writing. We have him here if you'd like him to go through some of his responses, or we can rely on the recommendation of the department, whatever your pleasure is, Madam Chair.
Yeah, I think it would be nice to have them walk through.
Sure.
Yeah.
Carlos?
Good evening, Carlos Sculte with Civil Environmental Consultants, the civil engineers for the project. So as Attorney Mahoney mentioned, we did receive comments from the city's third-party peer review engineer, as well as Department of Public Works and TPAL through the peer review, where they had a number of comments and questions on the traffic. They didn't really result in a lot of changes to the plans themselves. The building that was originally presented at the first hearing, architecturally, stylistically, identical to how it was before. The same layout, same number of units. The questions generally centered in a few different categories. There was a couple general ones looking for clarification on the zoning under which we're applying. Since it is a certificate of consistency application, it is a urban renewal use. So just clarifying the differences in the zoning between the QCD 15 and the urban renewal. So that was just one of the questions. Also confirming that this project is not requiring offsite spaces. I think there was a question about whether or not that was part of the project. We are parking 100 parking spaces for the 100 units on the site. So those will all be located on the site where the building's located. Clarification on dimensions and layout in the garage. They're all 9 foot by 18 spaces with 24-foot drive aisles, so in the garage, so not really too constrained for space in there. As well as we did perform a hydrant flow test in between the initial submission and the resubmission earlier this week. Great pressure out there. The water was just redone in 2022. Department of Public Works provided updated information on the as-builts from that work that was done in 2022, which were also updated on the plans, just for the record. And they also just wanted to get some additional information on the confirmation of the sewer capacity. The project wastewater flow is anticipated to be about 2% of the capacity of the sewer system in the roadway. There's no limitations, no issues that anybody's aware of. All that work was done a few years ago with the West of Chestnut project to accommodate future development as well. So there was planning done by the city to allow for that future development in that corridor. A few record-keeping things as it relates to the stormwater pollution prevention plan, the notice of intent with EPA, some of those things on the back end that we'll have to do that were acknowledged. And then a few things on the plans. We did update, based on more coordination with National Grid, the layout of the electric transformers, just to be able to provide some additional landscape buffering and provide separation from the building that was required by National Grid. So a little more design went into that to make sure that what was shown on the plan is going to be close to what's actually going to get built out on site. So there was a lot of coordination there to make sure it was reflected properly. As well as additional detail on the sidewalk, made sure that everything was going to be ADA compliant, so making sure that the cross slopes agreed with the maximum slopes for the requirement. And then just clarification on the landscape plans, just to show the different cover types that we had. We have a turf area where we would anticipate it would be a little more high traffic. So there's an artificial turf and there's an area in the back that's natural grass, just identifying on the plans a little more clearly which one was which. Adding some sight lines to make sure that there was adequate sight lines from the driveways so that you could see on Foster Street where the exit was in both directions without having any sort of problems coming or going from the garage. And then a few things on the stormwater, some record keeping, clarifying some things that were in the model and what was on the plans. There was a few tenths that we had to change the elevations of the outlet control structure just to make sure that they aligned with each other. It didn't really change the analysis at all. One thing we did do, one of the comments was that DPW and the peer reviewer noted that the system had a large footprint. We were able to go back to the manufacturer and find an alternate configuration that provided for a deeper footprint or a deeper profile, which allowed us to reduce the footprint of the system, which helped us contain it a little bit more in that courtyard area that we have at the front entrance and pull it back from the property lines, a little more separation from the building. And then as far as traffic, there were a few record-keeping comments there as well. General commentary, some additional clarification. Just wanted to clarify some of the discrepancies at the intersection of Foster and Chestnut, which were due to the ATM that's located there on the corner. A couple people were shortcutting the corner and they noticed there was a couple trips missing, so just clarified that. As well as the traffic engineer ran a sensitivity analysis if they sent traffic to Dennis Ryan Parkway instead of Washington Street to see if that would impact the overall level of service, and there was no change to that. It's not a huge traffic generator, and it didn't impact the level of service, as well as confirmation on the ITE calculations for the traffic generation versus parking generation. There's just nuances on how those calculations work. So the trip generation can't be done by bedroom, but the parking demand can. So the trip generation is done by units, regardless of bedroom, but the parking generation, you could do it by units and bedrooms. So there was some clarification on that, just reinforcing that the ITE calculations, the average parking demand for this building would be 70 spaces based on the units, 68 based on the bedrooms, and then the highest average, the 85th percentile, the peak demand was about 126 if you look at the units and 100 in the bedrooms. And that's consistent with the zoning of what's required here for the residential use in the urban renewal area. It's 100 spaces, and that's what's being provided in the site. So zoning compliant for that. We do have the whole team here with the architect, landscape architect, traffic engineer. If there are any detailed questions, I'm sure the team would be happy to answer.
Thank you.
Yep.
Just,
I have a question, I just refreshed my memory a little bit, and I think it was Member Foley that had mentioned, is this the site, this is the Quincy Mutual site that has the historic, well, maybe it's not historic, but it looks historic, brownstone, original brownstone that's been in the city forever, and there was discussion about whether or not that was gonna be incorporated into the plan, and this is the one, right?
The style, we could forward to them. Are you talking about the proposed building or some of the existing structures
Well,
that are
the
there?
existing structure is, of course, the one that Member Foley had talked about.
Yep.
And I think we were talking about whether or not that was gonna be incorporated into the new project.
Stylistically will be. None of the buildings that are there are going to remain, but there will be walk-up brownstones that wrap the entire corner of Chestnut going up Foster Street. So those
So
are
you're
gonna be walk-up.
You're carrying the look that is there now, but it's gonna go away. And
Correct.
that's gonna be, that look is gonna be carried into, and it's gonna be a masonry building, brick building, is that correct?
I defer to the architect, but it is all stone materials, masonry. It's, they can speak to the
Like real
materiality.
brick, not the fake stuff, the real stuff. Just say yes or no.
Yes,
Yes, yes.
yes,
Okay, thank you. All right, yeah, that's the building I was thinking of, yeah.
Okay.
It's a good looking building,
I agree.
right, Mr. Foley?
If I may, what I commented on last time was I thought it was, you carried that look of the brownstone throughout the entire project.
Yep.
Side to side across Chestnut Street, I thought it was fantastic. It does look good, it is real brick, and, I'm looking forward to this moving forward.
and it's not just the look of the brownstone, right? It's actually usable. Those are spaces.
Those are entries to the
Yeah.
units,
Yeah.
Good point.
walk-up
Yeah, well,
units.
Yeah, so
It's
it's
a
not
handsome
kind of,
building,
yeah.
it really is.
Yeah, I think it pulls that history in nicely.
Yeah, I was gonna wait for some of my remarks later, but I think it's appropriate now. This building sits within the Quincy Historical District. As a result, they need permission to demolish those buildings, but it'll be from another board. As has been custom in the past, we'll ask for that building to be photo documented with photographs. Also provide any architectural plans, and submit those to the city. And I'm sure there'll be a conversation about maybe some signage or anything, or what may happen, with that, during that process. So, on some cases, we've had those conditions on this board for photo documentation, but you won't see any of that because the historic commission is activated.
Goes to the other board.
It'll go to the other board.
When you say signage, just help me here, is that the sunny sign on the
I
outside?
think that's the big one that folks in the community are,
Yeah.
concerned with, correct?
Okay, yeah, I know.
All right, so this is a public hearing, continued public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak on the application can come up. We also have sign-in sheets along the window if you want to say you're for or against, or just kind of make a note that you're here. And it is 12 to 18 Chestnut Street, case number 2025 COC 02. Anyone here? No? Okay, so with that,
Give it
a second.
Sure.
Sure. Okay, so continue public hearing, 12 to 18 Chestnut Street, planning board case, 2025 COC 02. Anyone wishing to speak? Yep, and the sheets are on the window. Okay. All right, so with that, I think we have enough information to close the public hearing.
Motion to close?
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. And does the department have a recommendation?
Yes, we do. I was happy to provide a little piece of information, right before, a few minutes ago. Another piece that the board should be aware of is, this project entered into an urban renewal covenant, tied to the West of Chestnut project back in 2015. So that's what gives it, or qualifies it as an urban renewal project. In a lot of ways, this is sort of the second phase to that. So, with that, the department is prepared to give a recommendation. After consideration of the site plan, accompanying documents, and the comments received from the city staff and peer review consultant, the department recommends the board approve the certificate of consistency on the Quincy Center urban as amended and as defined within the Quincy Center zoning ordinance, Title 17, Section 8.3, Quincy Center District, Quincy Center Urban Revitalization District, Urban Renewal Uses. Section 9.3.3, Planning Board Rules and Regs, and Section 10 under definitions. And in accordance with Section 12.02, subsection 3, Section 2, overall redevelopment strategy of the Quincy Center Urban Revitalization District Plan as amended, subject to the below listed special and general conditions. Number 1, prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, the applicant shall provide to the planning department evidence satisfying the Quincy Center public art placemaking ordinance. 2, the applicant shall coordinate with the appropriate city departments to identify all necessary permits, such that applications can be reviewed as needed by the city and peer review consultants. It is anticipated that necessary permits will include the city stormwater management and land disturbance permit, city of Quincy drain permit, and street opening permits. This list is not intended to be comprehensive, and additional permits may be necessary. 3, the nature and scope of the proposed project has been previously reviewed under the MEPR certificate issued by the Secretary of Energy and Environmental Affairs on the final environmental impact report for the new Quincy Center project dated December 14, 2012, noted as EEA number 14780, the certificate. Under the certificate, the city has assumed the role of the redeveloper as such shall be responsible for the performance of any and all mitigation applicable to the proposed project under the Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act. The applicant shall cooperate with the city on any reporting requirements that involve the proposed redevelopment project. 4, the applicant shall submit a construction management plan to be filed and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. This shall include the locations of stockpile and/or staging areas for construction equipment and materials. The applicant shall also address construction period traffic impacts by providing a detailed sequence of construction and addressing any space constraints and detailing how they'll be addressed as construction progresses. 5, the applicant shall reconstruct the sidewalk along the entire property frontage at Chestnut Street in portions of Maple Street and Foster Street with a new cement concrete sidewalk, room finished with border and tube joints. Reset or replace granite curbing and build enhanced tree pits as shown on sheet C202 prepared by CEC dated September 12, 2005, and new street trees added as shown on sheet LP1.0 prepared by Traverse Landscape Architects dated September 12, 2025. The applicant shall provide ADA and AAB compliant sidewalks and wheelchair ramps at all crosswalks within the site. Any modification to the sidewalk or landscape plan must be approved by the Commissioner of Public Works. 6, Foster Street was repaved in 2023. Applicant must obtain consent from the Commissioner of Public Works to perform work in Foster Street prior to 2029. The applicant shall be responsible for restoring the roadway curbing sidewalk to finished condition once construction activities have concluded. 7, prior to the issuance of the building permit, the applicant shall perform a water flow test with the city's water department. 8, prior to the issuance of the building permit, the existing sewer main and manhole shall be inspected with television pre-development in order to check the condition of the system. The proposed sewer service pipe and the connection to the main shall be inspected with television post-development. Television reports shall be submitted to the Department of Public Works for assessment. 9, 1 week prior to any land disturbance activities, the applicant shall conduct an on-site inspection with the Department of Public Works and/or the city's designated representative to observe the erosion controls installed at the site and to review the erosion controls to be employed during construction. The Department of Public Works and/or the city's designated representative shall observe the construction of the stormwater management system upon completion of excavation and then upon completion of chamber and crushed stone installation, but prior to backfill. The applicant shall provide at least 72 hours notice for said inspections. 11, prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit, the applicant shall submit and record at the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds an operation and maintenance plan for the project stormwater system, which shall include the following: storm water management system owners, schedule for all routine and non-routine maintenance tasks to be undertaken, snow management plan showing snow storage areas and locations of all stormwater DMPs in each treatment drain along with discharge points, identify any limitation on the use of salt and or de-icing chemicals, if any, and any restrictions on snow stockpiling as it relates to sight lines or placement within stormwater DMPs. Inspections shall be conducted by a qualified professional such as a civil engineer or environmental engineer. 12, the applicant shall consult with the Quincy Health Department on noise mitigation measures for project-related noise generating activities to comply with local and state regulations. 13, the applicant shall conduct a pre-demolition asbestos survey. If there's any asbestos containing materials present, they must be removed by a licensed contractor, and a post-abatement inspection must be performed by a DLI certified project monitor. A walkthrough inspection conducted by the health department is required prior to demolition. 14, the applicant shall submit a written rodent control and plan to the health department for approval prior to any site activity. Said plan must be designed for the duration of the project and include at minimum the name and contact information of a licensed pest control operator to be retained by the project proposer for the duration of the project. Scope of the proposed plan for control of rodents, including number, location, and frequency of monitoring bait stations, and anticipated length of service. Summary of actions to be taken to prevent the rodent problems at the construction site. 15, the applicant shall develop and submit a written dust control plan to the Department of Health for review and approval prior to any site activity. Said dust control plan is to be implemented during any site activities to ensure compliance with state air quality regulations. 16, prior to the issuance of a demolition permit, the applicant shall provide the planning department with the appropriate documentation of the existing structures located at 12 and 18 Chestnut Street. And that's a tie-in to the Historic Commission. We'll have a vote at some point, so we're asking a vote to just go back for the board's records. 17, the applicant shall install stone or concrete monuments to delineate the public right of way. The monument shall be set by a professional land surveyor. 18, the applicant shall submit an AutoCAD file for the project at the time of building permit submission. The file should be in a Mass State Plan Coordinate System and preferably in Quincy Standard Data Links. 19, upon completion of construction, the applicant shall submit a report including certified as-built plan from a professional engineer or surveyor, certifying that the stormwater management system has been constructed in accordance with the approved plans. The report should include the certification that the excavations of the proposed system were inspected prior to backfill. Applicant shall also provide the city engineer the digital file as-built plans showing all utility, building footprints, reference bounds, and benchmarks defining the total site, facilities, and rights of way along with an AutoCAD file. The as-built plan shall be in Mass State Plan Coordinate System. Plan should be stamped and signed by a professional land surveyor or engineer. 20, upon completion of the project, the applicant shall submit a stamped affidavit from a registered professional engineer that all utilities, water, sewer, and drain are constructed as designed and no illicit connections are found on the completed project site. That would conclude the department's recommendation.
Okay, so, any questions? Is there a motion to approve consistent with the department's recommendation?
Can I just make a comment,
Oh, yeah.
please? As a board member, I wanna say, I'm happy that Quincy Fire Mutual is here. I'm happy that you're doing this project. You guys and girls have an outstanding reputation in the city. I'd love to see you guys doing this. I have to say this because Member Kelly is not here, but plus it's coming from my own heart. It's coming from my own heart as well. There's many, many talented women and men, tradespeople that live in the city of Quincy. That the way the economy is today in Boston, a lot of these tradespeople are getting laid off because there's not a lot of development or as much development as there used to be in Boston. Eventually it'll come back, we can all hope. But for now, it seems as though it's slowing down. So a lot of these tradespeople that have been very gainfully employed for a bunch of years are now finding themselves in the unemployment line. And it would be really shameful, it would be shameful, and I think it would be, almost hurt the reputation of the Quincy Mutual company in the sense that just be mindful of the local people that live here, that pay taxes here, that wanna work here, and, you know, they meet the community standards and you do too. You guys have a great reputation, let's just keep it going. I'm thrilled that you're gonna do this project. I think it's beautiful.
Any other comments? Okay, so is there a motion to approve consistent with the board, with the department's recommendation?
I will make that motion, Madam Chair.
And I will second.
Oh,
Go right ahead.
yes, member,
Please.
yes,
Yeah, go right ahead.
seconded.
Everybody wants it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, members of the board, Madam Chair. Appreciate it.
So the next item on the agenda was originally 42 Beale Street. If you came late, we continued that earlier, and that was continued to November 19th. So if you're here, it's been continued for 2 months, that's 42 Beale Street. So with that, we have one new public hearing left. It's 80 Independence Avenue, Planning Board Case Number 2025-14. This public hearing shall be conducted to review the application of 80 Independence Ave LLC, 33 Clyde Street, Dorchester, Mass. 02122 for site plan review under Quincy zoning ordinance, Title 17, Section 9.5.1, site plan review, and 5.1.17 parking waiver. The applicant proposes to convert the existing vacant warehouse to 4 new residential units along with 12 parking spaces. The proposal will also include professionally designed drainage controls and landscaping. The property contains 8,238 square feet of land and is located at 80 Independence Avenue. The subject property is located within a residential B zoning district and shown on Assessor's Map 3035, Lot 23, Lot 2. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Patrick Foley, business address 265 Willard Street, and I'm the attorney for the project here tonight. I'm joined here by Brian Saluti, who's our architect, Jed Hannon, who's our engineer, and Mike Ahern and Joe McGeckran, who are the owners of the property. The project that we are here to talk about tonight is 80 Independence Ave. This is a 8,238 square foot lot located in the residential B zoning district of the city, and it is also a tenth of a mile away from the Quincy Adams train station. As you can see right here, this is the current property as it exists today. It's a rundown, vacant warehouse/storage facility that's been vacant for a number of years. Anybody that's familiar with this neighborhood knows that this is mostly all residential homes. Everything around this storage facility/warehouse is either a single-family home, it's a 2-family home, a 3-family home, there's a 4-family home right next to us, and there's multiple development projects going down Independence Ave, up and down it. So the owner of the property wants to do something residential on it. Because the way it sits here right now, you're driving down Independence Ave, it sticks out like a sore thumb, and it doesn't look good for the neighborhood at all. A little while ago, probably about 18 months ago, the owner had an initial proposal for this site. It never got to the point where we had a planning board hearing with you people. We had preliminary conversations with the planning department, preliminary conversations with the counselor at the time, and we got some feedback from the neighborhood. The original proposal, I wouldn't even call it a proposal, was going to be 6 units with 9 parking spots. We got the message loud and clear. It was much too dense for that neighborhood. So the owner went back to the drawing board. Like I've mentioned previously, he wanted to do something residential on this site. He actually had an offer from somebody that wanted to purchase this property. They wanted to purchase this property and try to go through the process of converting it over to a cannabis storage facility. That was something that the owner didn't want to see go in here. So the owner rejected that offer, really tried to think of something that we could draw up that would fit into the character of the neighborhood. So that's what we're here with tonight. Tonight we're proposing 4 townhouse-style homes with 12 parking spots. These units will all be owner-occupied, which will provide much-needed housing inventory to an area where there is a housing shortage, but also provide much-needed housing near a train station. Like I said, we're a tenth of a mile away from the Quincy Adams train station. So we foresee that these units will be very popular and have a lot of people that will want to live here. Also, we seem to believe that this will improve the traffic flow of the neighborhood. When this was a storage facility/warehouse, you'd have people that were driving down Independence Ave, flashing their hazards, running in, running out, going down Parsons, putting their hazards on, going in for 5 minutes or staying in for an hour. Here, with 4 townhouses, there's going to be 2 car garages in each unit. So we're going to have people that leave in the morning and come home at night. And that's even if they're traveling that much with the close proximity to the train station. Some people might just get out, walk to the train, or wait for the bus that's in front of the house, in front of the building. So with that being said, I'm gonna have the team come up here and walk through the plans. I'm gonna have Brian go through the architect plans, and then Jed's gonna come and go through the engineering, and then any other general questions, myself or Michael, the owner of the building, will be more than happy to answer them.
My name is Brian Saluti. I'm the architect for the project. The name of my company is Brian Saluti Architect. My office is out of Weymouth. I'm here to present the 80 Independence Ave Townhome project. And I'll figure this thing out pretty quickly, I hope. Here we go. So we're looking at an aerial here of the existing building highlighted in yellow, and it's slated to be demolished. The building fronts Independence Avenue, but it also fronts Parsons Street on, I'm gonna say, this thing doesn't work. Guess not, huh? Well, it fronts Parsons Street on three sides. On the right side, to the rear of the property, and on to the left side. Parsons Street is also shared by three multifamily properties and a free-standing three-car garage. Plus, there's a single-family residence located down on the right-hand side of the property. That's 88 Independence Ave. So the next drawing I'd like to show you is SP1. I'm calling this an overlay plan. So what you're looking at highlighted in yellow is the existing building. And then highlighted in red is the proposed ground floor level of the building. And I also cross-hatch it so you could easily see it. So now we can compare both footprints. It's obvious that the building's footprint, the proposed building's footprint is quite small. In fact, the existing building is 58 feet wide by 75 feet long. The proposed building's only 55 feet wide by 54 feet long. So that's a 4-foot difference in the width and a 21-foot difference in the length. So that's quite a bit of difference. Next, I'm going to show you the proposed floor plans. This is the A1 drawing. So we're proposing a 4-unit, 3-story townhome building with 2 back-to-back identical townhome units fronting on the both sides of Parsons Street, the left and the right sides. Each townhome is going to contain over 2,900 square feet, which also includes a 2-car garage. That's a gross square footage number. There'll also be 4 additional guest parking spaces available to the rear of the property, as you can see there. And this was made possible since that proposed building, since the proposed building is substantially smaller than the existing building that's there now. This also allows for green space in the rear of the building, which there is none now. So the typical ground floor plan unit, if you look at it, is basically a square. It's 27 feet by 27 feet. That's the footprint. In addition to the parking garage at this level, each townhome will have a mechanical room, a storage room, and there's enough area left over for rubber barrels, that sort of thing. There's also going to be a sprinkler room. If you look toward Independence Ave, you see it in the middle there. It's a small room. And that'd be easily accessible for the fire department if need be. Plus, each unit's going to have, as a safety feature, it's going to have 2 egress doors at the ground floor level. And that's required by code, by the way I set these units up. The 2 upper floors are shown on the right side of this drawing. The typical overall second and third floor unit dimensions, they're a little bigger than the ground floor. They're 27 by 28, so they cantilever a foot. And, you know, if you look at the second floor plan, note that it's just a large kitchen, dining, living area with plenty of storage closets and a bathroom that's large enough to have a laundry component in there. Now, the third floor plan is below that. This shows the bedroom level with 2 bedrooms for each of the 4 units, that's it. So this 28 by 27 size footprint of a typical unit is sizable enough so that each bedroom can have their own bathrooms. Plus there's plenty of room for closets. So next I'd like to show you the elevation drawings, something like this. This shows all 4 sides of the building. The left and the right side elevations up in the left-hand corner and down on the right, they're identical. And that's the same for the front and the back. They're identical as well. So the predominant exterior material that we're using here is going to be hardy plank clapboard type siding with PVC trim. The typical windows are going to be traditional double hung types. There'll be window and building bump outs on all sides of the building, and I did this just to add some character to it. The roof is going to be a combination of a large hip with a gable running along the middle of the roof, running front to back. There's also some small dormers over the windows on the 3rd floor level along the roof line. And I think there are like 4 different locations. So I have 4 sketches that I can show you that might make this easier to understand. So you're looking at an aerial sketch. This shows the proposed project in the middle of both sides of Parsons Street. It also illustrates the adjacent abutters in white that you see there. This includes a 4-unit building to the far left and a duplex building to the rear left side and a 3-family to the right side. And down in the right-hand corner here, we have a single-family residence. The proposed building is going to be around 36 feet in height, which is pretty matched to what the existing abutters are. Next sketch I'd like to show you is another aerial type sketch. This shows the right-of-way side of the project, which you see in like a dash line going down the middle of that drive. That's actually the proposed building's property line. Also note you can see the 3-car garage that's in the middle of the left side of this rendering, and that's associated with the 4-family out front. Also note the combination hip and gable style roof that we're proposing for this building. Next, I'd like to show you just kind of like a close-up of the front and the right sides of the proposed building. Note the shed roofs over the window bump outs, the roof dormers, the egress doors on both units. And the next sketch I can show you is this one here. This is the rear of the building. This shows the guest parking lot and the new landscaping areas. And I'm going to have a landscape plan to show you at the end of this presentation, which is coming up in a minute. And that'd be more definitive. And the final sketch I'd like to show you is this one here. This is kind of a close-up of the right-of-way side on the left side of the building, which is actually, like I said, the proposed building's property line. If you don't mind, I'd like to go back to just the A1 drawing. So you can see the right-of-way there and how it takes an angle after the middle of it. And just wanted to point out that initially that roadway was 15, well, it is now, it's 15 feet wide. And I'm showing a dotted line there. So that's where it used to be, and we're proposing to make it 19 feet wide. So we're thinking, this is going to improve the radius turn there for, let's say, emergency vehicles and things like that. And also, it's a good asset for the people who live on Parsons Street. So I'll show you the landscape plan. Oops. This landscape plan was prepared by Karen Goslin. She's a landscape architect. The name of the company is CMG Design. I'm not a landscape architect, but it's pretty obvious that there are 3 trees out front, and there's 2 at the rear of the property. And she left me with some notes here. She explains that the 3 trees out front are cherry trees, and the 2 in the back are Japanese lilac-type trees. And they flower in the spring, and they shouldn't get, according to her notes, it shouldn't get higher than 20 feet. There's also some open green areas there, grass spaces at the front of the property and at the rear of the property. And they might, be useful for even snow storage. There's also going to be some smaller plants like hydrangeas and perennials and ornamental grasses. And you can see them hugging the corners of the proposed building and at the entrances out front. And that's basically a brief description of the building that we're proposing. Want me to hand the floor back to Pat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jed's gonna come up and just go through the civil plans real fast.
Good evening. For the record, Jed Hannon with Atlantic Coast Engineering, registered engineer for the project. Brian did such a good job. I don't think I have too much to explain, but I'll go through the utilities, the stormwater, and the zoning table in terms of lot coverage, setbacks, et cetera. So as Brian explained, the proposed footprint is obviously smaller than what's there existing. If you note on the plans at the bottom left, the existing lot coverage is 92%. The proposed is 74.3. So it's about an 18% reduction in lot coverage, which creates, more open space, more green space. In terms of setbacks, we're not proposing any further nonconformities than what's there. We're providing adequate parking space. All the existing utilities are shown on the plans, as well as the proposed and where they're tying in. All the details are shown on the details sheet 3 of 3. In terms of stormwater, the stormwater permit application and HydroCAD report was submitted to the city. What we're proposing are Cultex to capture the roof runoff from above, and the Cultec detail is shown. I don't know if you folks have a copy of the HydroCAD report, but basically, we look at the 2-year, the 10-year, and the 100-year events, and we're more than complying with DEP best management practices in terms of pre and post stormwater events with the recharge of the roof runoff. Brian covered, how the parking is under the proposed structure, and as well as the guest parking at the rear. Fairly straightforward from a site civil standpoint. I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys may have. Thank you.
I have a question.
Sure.
So on the utilities coming in, the electrical, is it above or is it below grade? Is it you coming off a pole off of Independence Avenue? Or?
Exactly. We're coming off a pole right off Independence. That's denoted in red, and it says OHD for overhead.
Okay. Well, instead of me looking there, I'll trust you. So,
Yes, it's right here. That's not mine coming in.
okay. Is there any transformers required on the property for the 4 units, or is it just something on the pole? Do you need any ground-based transformers there or anything like that?
Sure. As far as I know, everything's coming off the pole unless something's detailed on Brian's plans that I'm not aware
No
of.
transformer required.
No transformers, and gas units, electric units, what's the plan? They're gonna be condos?
Electric, as far as I know.
So they went.
Yep. And they're gonna be condos.
They're gonna be
Yeah.
condos, gonna be electric?
Yep.
No transformers on the site?
Right.
And looking at, it looks like you're gonna have 12 parking spaces, is that right? You're gonna have
Collectively,
collectively, so I see 4 in the street, wait, not the street, but
in
around the
the,
corner.
in the rear,
right?
yep.
And then you have 2, 4, 6, 8 in the units, right?
Correct.
Yep.
So you got 12 parking spots for 4 units? And the front of it, on Independence Avenue, you're showing a door with no windows or what, is that, and there's a walkway going there, so the backside, I can see that, and it has decorative doors, but the front, on Independence, 80 Independence, you have, you're not showing a very decorative door there, it almost looks like it's a utility door or something.
Use the sprinkler.
So
The
that's-
middle of the sprinklers.
So that isn't been going in and out, that's just, that's a sprinkler room? Is that-
Correct.
Yeah, for safe access.
Ugly door.
The doors to the
Yeah,
left
so
and
if
the
you're
right.
gonna speak, if we could just do it a little bit more orderly, so whoever's up at the podium
Sure.
can speak.
Alright.
But you're welcome to come up and answer the specific questions. I mean,
Okay.
choose from your team who makes the most sense.
Thank you.
One of those, right, one of you all.
Yeah, yes.
Thank you.
That's the view.
There's entrance, there's egress entrance doors on either side, and then in the middle, that's for the sprinkler room.
On both sides of the building, you have the sprinkler room with an entrance.
Oh, no, on the other side, the rear side?
Am I looking at? the
Oh, I'm
front
sorry,
or
this,
the rear?
I'm sorry. Here we go. Yeah, both sides. I said they were gonna be identical in the, as you see in the elevation drawing, the
Yeah,
front and the rear.
so the bottom left, that's the front we're looking at from 80 Independence Avenue.
Correct.
And then above that is the back side of it.
Above that is the side on Parsons Street.
Yeah.
That would be the entrance. Both sides of Parsons would be the main entrance, because of where the garage doors are.
Gotcha. Gotcha, thank you. I just wondered what those doors were, I didn't know what they were.
Any additional questions?
That's it for me.
Okay. Member Foley, I just wanted to, or, Member Foley. I was looking
We
at
get
Member
confused all the
Foley.
time, don't worry about
You
it.
said that earlier, Attorney Foley.
Well, you
Yeah.
both look like twins, guys.
I know, right?
Right.
Schwarzenegger and DeVito.
At all the time.
I just wanna make sure your presentation was
Yeah, there's just one more thing I wanted to add, and what this is gonna provide, for some reason, people think when there's an unoccupied building, they think it's just an area they can just throw all their trash, right? So you go by this bill, I know the owner tries to upkeep it, every time you go there, there's littering all over the place. So by switching over to these residential units, that's gonna eliminate all that. It's gonna upgrade the property, it's gonna make it look a lot better in the neighborhood, and eliminate all that littering as well.
Thank you. So I'm sure we'll have other questions too. I just wanted to make sure you were finished. So, Member Foley.
Well, just, I'd like to follow up on Member Shaughnessy's concern. I get it, it's utility door, sprinkler room, utilitarian. But he's right, it doesn't look good. You've got some pretty handsome doors, the pedestrian doors on either side. Maybe just on the front, put the lights in, the windows, just mimic those doors, even though it's a sprinkler room. And it's, it's a busy street, so it would just look nice.
Sure,
Absolutely. And one other thing, I like the proposed storage for snow in the rear. It does have city street signs on it. Is that plowed by the city of Quincy? Like,
Yes.
all the way around?
Yes,
When
it
it comes around to the right of way?
Yes.
Okay, all right. No, that was I hadn't thought of the doors, Ellie, until you mentioned it. I agree.
And
So-
since you just said that, I just thought of something when you just said that too, is if it's a 4-family like this, or 4 units, are they required to get private rubbish disposal?
Yeah, that was actually something I wanted to jump in on too. So that will all be, they're gonna be responsible for their own trash. So they have garage space to keep a barrel out, they'll put it on a trash
Okay,
tank.
and they'll put their own barrels out and.
Correct, yeah.
And the city will pick it up then?
Yes.
It's not required, like no.
Yes, yeah, it's a small enough
Yeah.
development that that's what they'll do.
It's great.
Okay, thanks, Pat.
Questions? Okay, so I do have actually a number of questions. The street tree that's out front on Independence, is that going to be maintained?
Yes,
Okay. 4 condo units, so you said that they were going to be owner occupied, is there going to be a provision in the documents providing that they cannot be rented out?
Yes, yes, so my office will actually doing the condo docs as well, so we'll make sure of that.
Okay. I have some concern about backing out of the garages and sight lines, because you're backing right into the streets, it looks like. Has that been reviewed or examined? Because, I mean, you have to back into, especially if people are turning right onto Parsons. Somebody's going to have limited visibility pulling out of a garage.
Okay.
So,
Want to comment?
Sure, I guess the comment I'd have there is, we could certainly add a turning radius. And then really from a common sense standpoint, if, just like if you're backing out of a parking space, you gotta look both ways and
Yeah, but you
and
don't
sa-
have a
safely,
wall
na-
like
safely
this,
navigate.
right?
No,
Yeah.
understood.
My concern was being able to have that 24-foot back out, which is, required, and, it's just about amazing.
Okay, all right, so I mean, I'd just like to see some consideration be given to
Okay.
that visibility issue.
Sure. Yep.
I had the same question anyway, to disguise sprinkler doors up front. And then I just have a question, because if you could explain to me the property boundary here, so specifically, I guess relative to the northern right of way. So you're showing 10 feet of the right of way being included in this lot. And so I'm just wondering, does the lot include the 10-foot right of way, or is there some private, kind of right of way that you're saying you own under the derelict fee statute, and therefore you're including that 10 feet in your property?
So the way we've laid it out here is in line with the deed, which goes halfway across the right of way. So the blue line, which you can see, is basically halfway across the right of way
So
in
that,
terms of width.
yeah, so that lot it's not like you've extended the lot lines to
No.
take in, part of the right of way that you would own. That lot exists.
Correct.
Okay, but then the right of way, who has, I guess, rights over that right of way?
I don't have a copy of all the deeds
Yeah.
for the abutters, but I know this property does.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Mike, could you confirm that?
This property and the abutting property to the left.
Yes, okay,
The 4-unit building.
thanks, Mike.
So when you say the abutting property to the left, the property to the north?
That would be to the north.
74 Independence.
And so to your knowledge, none of those other properties have rights over that right of way?
No. No.
No, okay, and so you're saying you're going to expand the right of way into that area, are you going to grant easements to everybody else who lives on Parsons?
We're still trying to work that out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's strange to see a right of way of that size being considered, it impacts the effective usability of the lot. I mean, it's a big easement, it's half a right of way, so, okay. So those were my questions, and I guess some things to still be worked through from my perspective.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions for now? No? Okay, so it is a public hearing, so we'll give the public an opportunity to speak on this. Again, it is 80 Independence Avenue,
Good job, Jeff.
Planning Board case number 2025-14. If anybody would like to speak on this application, you can just raise your hand, I'll acknowledge you and invite you up. Yes, ma'am. And while you're making your way, I'll just let everybody know that we have sign-in sheets on the side. You can sign for or against, or just make your presence known and write that you're here. Yes.
Cindy Brandy, 52 Independence Avenue. I have to agree with Attorney Foley that property has been a disaster lately, not immediately, but I've called the city inspector for the amount of trash and everything else left there. I'm in support of this. It will be a big improvement over what is there existing.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Yes.
Evie Tambori, 91 Independence.
Sorry, could you just say it again?
Evie Tambori at 91
Okay,
Independence.
could you just raise your voice a little bit, or, yeah, that would be great, that's for the folks.
Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I agree. Aesthetically, it's needed. It's a much better looking building. It's an improvement between the trash, the rats. But I do have a few questions and concerns that perhaps, and I apologize if it's redundant, as it pertains to the 24-foot space on either side of the building that the plans had contained, I'm not quite reaching those numbers, even if the footprint is made a little bit narrower. I know for the sake of emergency response, usually when there is an issue, the ambulance will fit through. If you're facing the front of the building, the ambulance can get through the right side. It's only about 13 feet. But the fire equipment stays on Independence. They can't make the left or the right side. So I'm not sure how we're gonna get to a 24-foot width area to the right and left of the building. Is one of my concerns. And I did take a picture. It's quite narrow as it is now. And I don't know precisely where residents live, but they use the far right side along the bushes to park their vehicles. So it's even that much more narrow to get in and out of. The other concern was the parking. I'm not versed in city code. I don't know if the 12 lots exceed the number of spots per dwelling unit. That was one of the concerns. And of course, there are 4 bus routes and direct red line train access, which would be a great selling point for the property, which all immediately serve Independence. So I don't know if we could lessen the amount of cars to help with access for emergency purposes, et cetera. And yes, landscape maintenance, how frequently will they come out? Will they commence before 8 a.m.? Are pets gonna be permitted in the property? How many per unit? Dogs, cats, if these folks go off to work? Pets obviously have emotional detachment. We don't wanna listen to dogs barking all day, especially those of us that have to work at home. And we've had, as you all probably know, major roadway and sidewalk projects which have just been completed on Independence. So I'd like to put forth that any surfaces that have to be torn up be restored as they were and not just patched. I mean, we're just fresh off that huge project. And then of course, yes, rodent control, because after a long period of neglect, the exterior of that property was horrible. So it'd be nice to have rodent control before the demolition commences and through the demolition. And perhaps some police detail for the duration of the construction. The street is extremely busy. It's a commuter street. School buses, MBTA. I don't know how the equipment is gonna fit to bring in the construction materials, supplies, and on and on. The noise concerns, and when will they start? Do we have a demolition date if it's approved? So those are just a few of the issues that I wanted to air. Thank you.
Thanks, we'll work to the answers. Anyone else wishing to speak on this? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Phil Weinberger. I live at 71 Independence Ave with my family. And I think, generally speaking, this is great. When I saw the thing, I'm like, oh my God, they're finally tearing that crap down and, building something that hopefully will be appropriate with the neighborhood. My only concern is a couple of times they mentioned it's going to look like this. I'd like to know what it's gonna finally look like. I would appreciate if, so far what we saw was beautiful. I'd like to see that it is gonna be like that. That's what's going to happen, not like this. We saw with the BJ's thing a few years ago that they said it was gonna look like this, and then they didn't, it didn't look like that. And then they came with a compromise, which still, which is fine, but you know what I'm saying? I don't wanna have to have a compromise later. It looked beautiful in the picture. That would be great. I just don't want it to look like that. I'd like to be that, or better would be great. I want to thank the person who mentioned the doors, because I didn't think of that until you mentioned it. I'm like, yeah, those are ugly doors. The front doors look great. If they can come, maybe they have to have some type of a steel door because it is a utility room, but they could still put some sort of a front that looks like nice. Other than that, the only thing I kind of kind of curious about, and this is a little aside, he keeps mentioning that the next door building is a 4-unit building. My understanding is it's only 3. I don't know if it makes a difference. I don't have a big problem with the 4 here, but the next door is supposed to be only 3. There was a thing a few years ago where they wanted it to be 4, and it got shot down by the neighborhood because there was no good egress on this 4th unit that they had. But again, that's totally aside, and we can leave that for the inspectional services people if there really are 4 units in that right now. But okay, but thank you very much for doing that. I appreciate it. Oh, sorry, I'm supposed to look. Mira, thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this application? It is public hearing 80 Tennant's Avenue, Planning Board case number 2025, and we do have 2025-14. We do have sign-in sheets. Anyone else? Oh, yes, sir. I'm just gonna let everybody speak, and then you can respond at the end.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Joseph Parlavecchio. I am the abutter to the left, 74 Independence. And I know I'm kind of on the opposition list, but it's really more that I just have some concerns that I think that I'm hopeful can be addressed so that the finished product can be collaborative and amenable to everyone. But I did want to note some concerns. The first being the size. The proposed 4 units in the 0.5 FAR does seem big for the space. Per the ordinance, it should be, I think, 2 to 3. And I appreciate that the speaker before me mentioned the size of our building. It is actually a 3-family. It's, for whatever reason, it's on the books as a 4, but it is, the prior owners were forced to deconstruct the 4th unit because of neighbor concerns. The other concern I have is around the setback exemptions and whether they're needed. They're raising the building, so that should allow for setback compliance. The 12 parking spaces, I also feel maybe a bit much, especially given the proximity to the Quincy Adams MBTA station right down the street. And per the ordinance of 10 spots, the left side of the building, those garage spots, they're gonna be backing out right onto our parking. And it's really tight as it stands. Our spots are actually angled because you can't really drive the cars out straight. You have to go at an angle because of how tight that street is. And then I also noticed that the traffic and light studies they're requesting to waive those. I don't think they should be. I think they're important in understanding the impact of additional vehicles, especially with those cars that are backing out, that headlights are going to be flashing into the units, and the reduction in natural light because of the size of the building. But like I said, I'm totally in agreement with everyone else that what's there is an eyesore. I'd love to see something develop there. I think this is a great first pass at it, but there's just some concerns I have that I wanted to be noted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak on this? Again, it is 80 Independence Ave. We will continue it, so you will have another opportunity. Attorney Fuller.
Thank you. Just a couple of the concerns I was listening to that I want to address, and I know we got a little break in between this that we're going to make some of those corrections as well. The woman who was at 90, excuse me, the woman that was at 91 Independence, I know she had questions about like landscaping and how often it's going to get landscaped. These are going to be condos, so as soon as these get sold out, the HOA takes that over, and then they'll dictate how often the landscaping comes, and they'll pay that through the condo fees. And I imagine, these are homeowners that are going to take great pride in their property. It's the biggest investment a lot of people make in their life, so they're going to make sure that, those landscapers are probably there, either twice a month or at least monthly, so it's gonna look nice. And as for rodent control, the city's got requirements for it, so we're gonna have to be compliant with all rodent control issues as well. The gentleman at 71 Independence, who's worried about, if what we're proposing here today, if it's gonna change, when you file for your CO, you have to put those plans in. And when they come out to inspect it before they give you a CO, they better match up or you're not gonna get it. So he doesn't have to worry about us getting one thing approved and changing it. And that's not gonna happen. And those are just some of the things I wanted to address from the abutters.
Chair, if I could, Pat, while you're up, maybe,
Yes, sir.
it wasn't until the gentleman, the abutter, just spoke about the fact that his parking is angled a bit, and I noticed on your plan, it says relocate the stripe and relocated 2 parking spaces. Is that, so that would be on this, what are we, A1? It's on, basically, it's on his, right there, we have relocate
Oh, it's
stripes.
on the architecturals, A1.
A1, the architectural A1, relocate the stripes. So I believe this is the area he was talking about, the angled parking at his house, right?
That's correct.
So I'm
That
just
angled
curious.
parking is in the easement where it's not supposed to.
Yeah, so if you're just speaking,
Yeah,
if you
I'm
could
sorry,
just speak,
it's-
no, that's not your, you could just introduce yourself as well.
My name is Mike Ahern. I'm one of the owners of the property and proponent of developing the property. So if you look at the right-of-way, the right-of-way is actually supposed to be clear. So that's why we're showing that line. That angle parking is not supposed to be in the right-of-way. It's supposed to be clear for both sides to use at all times.
Do you have a sense of how long that angled parking or that site has been used for parking?
I don't have a sense. It wasn't not that long ago. No, because they used to have, the previous owners had 18-wheelers here in storage facilities. You could never make that turn. So this happened sometime, I don't know if it happened under the ownership that's current, but it did happen under the previous ownership within the last 5-6 years.
So the previous owners used to bring 18-wheelers, in Parsons and go around this thing?
They used to back them in on the right-of-way
Oh.
and bring them on the side of Parsons. There's a loading dock door currently on the side of Parsons where you can see the bump out of a curb right where it says the word street.
Yeah,
That existed. So that was how they backed in. And then there's also a loading, couple of doors on Parsons, there's a couple in the rear as well.
well, what's that building right there?
The 3-car garage belongs to
The multifamily behind us
Right.
owns that 3-car garage right there.
Oh.
That's not us.
That's not you.
No.
Okay,
And
thank
to
you.
piggyback what Mike said, under the old ownership and what was there, they were putting trucks up and down there all the time. So whatever we're putting in for traffic is gonna be an improvement. with
No,
cars.
that's fine, I appreciate it, just.
Yeah, no problem.
To his point, sir, you spoke, on this graphic, it doesn't show the verbiage that it does here. Relocated spaces and relocate stripes.
So-
So I just wanted, just some clarification.
Yeah,
because
and-
parking's been a-
and may-
The turning has been a backwards.
We might have the wrong address for the current owners because we did reach out to them to talk to them about this angle parking in the right-of-way because the right-of-way is supposed to be clear 24 hours a day. So it's supposed to be kept clear 24 hours a day. There's not supposed to be cars parked in that right-of-way.
So
That's fine.
the gentleman that was just up here, he has the unit that, to the left of this. That's where the angled parking's coming out,
That's
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So does he know that?
I
he's
don't
angled
know
parking
because
there?
I know the previous owners were aware that they weren't supposed to park there.
Are you the owner or are you right there? Okay.
Yeah, come on. Yeah.
So, yeah, so it might seem like off camera, outside the public hearing, there's private property rights at play here that you should probably
Right.
discuss.
Yeah,
Come
that
back.
was done by prior ownership. We didn't do that. And I don't know what address you have for me.
In
But
Braintree. Campos LLC?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I sent the letter to.
You sent the letter?
Yeah.
To,
Campos LLC, I could get the address.
Again, I think that this can be discussed
Yeah.
in the hall.
Yeah, we can discuss it
Right.
outside.
Thank you. Thank you
yeah, like I
so
said,
much.
I want it to be collaborative
Yeah.
and just make sure.
No,
that
thank
it's-
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we are looking at a continuation of this public hearing. What was the date? How?
1 month would be the 15th. Right now, we have no new applications, deadline is next week. There's a late meeting for October as it stands.
Okay, and you're fine with October 15th, thankfully, because I think we've identified some things to work through, but that's.
We'll be able to work through, we'll be ready for October,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right, okay, so is there a motion to continue to October 15th?
Motion to continue to October 15th.
Okay, is there a second? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, October 15th. And we have no other business, so that, we are,
I'll make a motion.
thank
That we
you.
Sure, I'll second
All
that.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.